the transition's tough. I feel bad for guys that are transitioning and do in something that they don't know that they're loving and not waking up every day excited to do. I was very lucky that I was able to, wake up and be really excited about a project I was working on. There was absolutely days though when like, it wasn't all those great weekends where you didn't sell anything and you're like, whew, is this the right move here? And I think another thing too is, early on when you're starting a company, everyone, people around you, even like your friends are like, who the fuck does this guy think he is? Yeah. Like, it's like, it's like anybody can go and do this. Like, there's no fucking way. So I think like knowing that that's going on and you just absolutely lose your identity. There's no doubt about it. You go from being the hockey player for 25 years into, something else. And that's always really tough.
Tom, Lee, thanks for joining Pucks to Properties this week's podcast. Thanks, fellas, for jumping on. Thank you very much. Lee, where are you out of?
Ann Arbor, Michigan. So went to school here and then bounced around a little bit. And then before you know it, had a bunch of employees in Ann Arbor, and Ann Arbor, came back to being home again. So here for the time being.
Love it. We'll give you a proper intro, but I want to thank everyone for jumping on and watching this podcast. Obviously, the purpose of this podcast is to give back to knucklehead hockey players like us, right? So it's life after hockey, to let everyone know that, guess what? There is another life after hockey, because a lot of us struggle to find our purpose, to find our passion. A lot of us jump into real estate because there's no barriers of entry. Lee took a little different path. He saw that the light at the end of the tunnel was business. And Lee has 18 different stores, but which we'll get into that. But Tom, what's up, brother?
What do we got? Good morning. Thank you. I know it's been kind of tough getting schedules aligned for this episode, but I'm very excited about this episode, for obvious reasons. One, because Lee he's a name brand in the hockey world, kind of tapped into PHPA a couple of years ago, like we're trying to do, and essentially give guys, an opportunity and a platform to network, to grow, to see that there is, life after hockey, like you just spoke about. And, obviously everyone in the hockey world knows State and Liberty right now. So nice shirt. I'm wearing it today. So quick plug for you. No big deal. But yeah, it goes a little bit further than that. Hockey guy, Connecticut guy, created something pretty cool, pretty special right in our backyard. And then eventually, you're nationwide now. So pretty cool episode, and, brick-and-mortar shops all over the country. So it's going to tie into real estate a little bit, but it's more about the business aspect, and, take it away.
Love it. So, Lee, obviously, Avon, you went to Avon Old Farms, you went to Michigan. You're the third Michigan cat we got on this call. We were just laughing right before we got on. We're like, all right, we should probably get some BU guys here, but all the BU guys are usually, either staying in hockey, or they're coaching, or they're GMs, or they're whatever, right? So, but the Michigan Cats are the smart men. So, Lee, thanks for jumping on. So give us a 2-second background. I know you're still in Michigan right now. You went from obviously Wallingford, Connecticut, to Michigan, Avon Old Farms, into Michigan. So give us a 2-second rundown of your story.
Yeah, just try and keep it short. But grew up in Wallingford, Connecticut. Always important to me. I grew up in the New Haven section, not the Fairfield County section, and went to Avon Old Farms. My brothers went there. Had a great 3 years as far as like just development as a man and an athlete, and think back on some of those hockey days, some of my favorite hockey memories, and a high school team that had 12 Division I players on it, and eventually 3 or 4 NHL guys. We felt like we were kind of like the Miami Hurricanes in the early 2000s of prep school hockey, and just had a blast. And ended up going to Michigan, having a great experience there. I went to USHL for a year, and then went to Michigan. Great 4 years, great experience. Just can't beat the school and the network and everything that goes on here. And on top of the hockey was just a bonus. Bumped around the minors for a few years, and then started this. Felt like after my first year in the minors, things just weren't really going that great. I'd be up in the American League for like 2 months at a time and play 4 games and just kind of getting bumped back and forth, and didn't really love that lifestyle. Had a little passion project that I started that then became State and Liberty, my second year playing in the coast in South Carolina. And, very lucky that it's kind of taken off, and been working on this for past 7 years now, 8 years, seven or eight, right around.
What did you do? So it's pretty interesting. So, we talk about this a lot of seeing beyond hockey, right? So, you're bouncing around the minors. I had a lot of the same story. I played 8 years. Just, we talked about this before. Bounce around the minors a bit, but seeing life after hockey, what was the first aha moment to say, you know what, hey, this is not going to last forever?
Yeah, I think it was just that first year of feeling like I was playing pretty well, like American League games and American League camp, and like still getting sent down, in these first round draft picks that are young kids that just like weren't really. I thought it was a lot better then, just getting a lot more opportunity.
Yep.
I think a big one for me too is I felt like at Michigan. Great school, great academics. I did not take advantage of it at all. I was trying to take the easiest path, just focus on hockey, have fun, kind of do all that. So I think that first year was just kind of eye-opening for me. Like I really didn't learn that much about life at school. So really educated myself. And then I actually had an internship at Bellagio in Vegas after my first year. And I thought, that would be a great opportunity to get something on my resume. Like you were saying, I taught hockey camps and lessons. And that's really the only job I ever had. And then when I was out there, it's supposed to be an 8-week internship. I only lasted like 5 weeks. I was locked in a cubicle with no windows. I was just like,
that's heaven, dude. That's heaven. No.
Yeah. I was like, this life is not for me. So that actually was kind of the reason for going back and playing the second year. But more importantly, I think from that experience, I was like, I can't be like a corporate guy. I can't be in an office every day. And I thought that I kind of wanted to be in a smaller startup environment, and then just kind of thought, what better way to build my resume of working in a startup than to try and start one on my own. And that kind of became the impetus for it. It's funny that last year in South Carolina, I think we hold like the North American League record for most won games at a pro level. I think we rattled off like 25 straight wins, something crazy. Just one of the greatest group of guys I've ever played with. And I think you lose that like college morale and team rapport when you go to pro. And we like really had that. That was the closest team I've ever played on. And I actually wanted to go back and play again, but it was just at the point where kind of State and Liberty got to a point where I was like, oh, I might be able to make a living off of this. And that was the real kind of moment of giving it a real shot.
So how'd you actually start it? Or when did you start it? So you went to college, obviously you worked at the Bellagio, and then you turned pro. Like when did you have the idea, and how did that happen? Because, there's a shit ton of clothing stores out there, so how the hell did you, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah. I think that's always the hardest part, right? Is just saying like, hey, I'm going to go for this and I'm going to try it. I give a lot of credit to my business partner, where I always kind of had the idea of, hey, let's make a better fitting, better feeling dress shirt. He was the one that's like, hey, I can like get a business off the ground if you think that you can like sell it and like get a product going in those types of things. So he was definitely the one that was like, we talk about this all the time over having some beers. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And then, it just starts with, trying to find suppliers and fabrics, and you make a couple prototypes that are complete dog shit that you think's like the best thing in the world. You keep on, trying to make it better. You get to a point where you think that you have a product that people are going to like, you launch it, you realize 6 months later that product was horrible. And just keep on trying to get better. But I think that in this day and age, there's, these Shark Tank, and you hear about people raising money and all these things. And in my opinion, you don't really need all that stuff. Like, build a product, see if you can sell that product. If you can sell that product, maybe you're onto something, and it's worth kind of digging in deeper to see if you should keep on pushing forward.
So where did you start? Because I have a similar story. My buddy Dan Farrell, who owns Farrell Sports Concepts, had shoulder pads. So we went through the same thing. We were in China, we were in Korea, we were in all these different countries to get the product the right way. This is, back in the day. So it's pretty interesting. Same story. So how did you, or what country did you start in? Like, if somebody's thinking the same thing as you, whether it's clothing line or whatever it is, right? Whether it's real estate, doesn't matter. How did you actually get started, and where did you find a manufacturer to actually do it? Because that's pretty impressive, right? You start from scratch. You had a business partner. Explain your business partner too, because I think this is a big part of a lot of people don't understand that, you know what, having a business partner is not a bad thing. Me personally, I love having business partners, right?
Yeah.
I've always had, and, you know, you divide and conquer. So talk a little bit about that.
Well, I think it's really important when you're thinking about a business partner. And it's funny, we've gone from like friends to business partner back to friends, and it's kind of been like a roller coaster ride in a lot of ways. But people just want to like team up with maybe their buddy or someone that they enjoy spending time with. But ultimately, you want to find somebody that kind of covers and has strengths where you have weaknesses. And I think that's a really important thing. And it's something that's, people just think, oh, I'll team up with a buddy. But if you have two guys that have the same strengths, I'm not, it doesn't matter who you are, there's weaknesses that everybody has, no matter how smart you are or whatever it might be. I think that's really important. And then as far as just like morale, this startup game is all over the place. You have ups, you have downs, you have times when you feel like you're on top of it and the smartest guy in the room, and other times where you just don't feel like you're adequate enough to run this and to make it work. And to have someone there to kind of level you off. And Steve and I have always done a great job with that. One of us has been down, the other one's been up, and it's been a really good yin and yang to balance each other out. But it's a marriage, and it's interesting, once you get employees like we have, it becomes, a true marriage. It's a crazy relationship. And I've just been so fortunate to be able to team up with him to kind of get us to where we are today.
So where did you meet him?
So we were in a senior leadership society at Michigan. So it's like, interesting enough, I kind of joke around, but he was the president of the Glee Club. He doesn't have that great of a voice, so it's kind of interesting. But it's crazy at Michigan. The Glee Club's one of the oldest organizations. It's got a $10 million endowment. So running that organization is not like just showing up and singing every day. You're balancing a balance sheet, and he's scheduled a 35 guy trip to Asia and all the scheduling and everything with that. So he's really had his shit together on that front.
So all right, how did you meet this dude? So you're in Michigan.
Yep.
I mean, not for nothing, but I went to BU, and I would never be hanging out with someone from the Glee Club. Like, this is just
So it was actually a cool thing. It was just a senior leadership society where they essentially take the top 25 leaders on campus and they put you in like a group. You meet once a week. And we just got to know each other and became really good friends from those meetings. Really like eclectic crew of like across the board. It had about like 5 to 7 athletes in it, and then just ranged everywhere from the president of the aerospace club, and like just all these like kind of crazy smart people, and student body president and all that type of stuff. So it's a pretty cool thing. I'm not sure if Michigan still does it. It's been like a controversial group, but it's something that good experience when I did it. But the fact that it led to me finding a business partner and a friend for life makes it pretty amazing, and something that I hope that they're still doing.
So we talk about network a lot, right? Network and community, right? Whether you played pro or junior, went to college or played junior, doesn't matter, right? It's you meet somebody in some sort of network or community, right? And this is non-hockey world where you met this individual, which is pretty cool, right? So what do you recommend guys? Either in college or in junior right now on how they should look at potential network and potential community? Like, what is your view on that?
Yeah, it's interesting. I hate going to like networking stuff now. But early on I was definitely doing a lot of those things. Lucky to have the Michigan network, and I was going to like alumni society or alumni groups in whatever cities that it were, and just looking for connections to people. I think that's one of the most amazing things about the hockey community, is that if you want to talk to somebody, you can find a way to make it happen. And there's so many people out there, and especially guys that are running businesses or whatever it may be, like they want to help. They remember the days when they were trying to figure out what they wanted to do, and they had to get scrappy to get introduced to people and to get opportunities. So it's amazing to me. I'm just thinking about early on in my days. I was Brian Spaley was running Trunk Club, and like he's like kind of a hockey guy in the hockey community. Was able to get connected to him. The CEO of Equinox Gyms was able to get like a meeting with him and chat with him. I think early on, just if you want to get introduced to somebody, you can make it happen. And I think that's like the great thing about the hockey community. You kind of bounce around until you find somebody who has a connection that can make it happen. And also just the willingness of guys that are doing it to sit down and want to chat with guys that are trying to get it going.
Yeah, it's interesting because BU did not a good job when I was playing there to life after, but now they're doing a great job. They're really promoting the alumni and networking and all that kind of stuff. It's pretty interesting how they're turning towards that direction, which is a great thing to do. It doesn't matter, like I said, it doesn't matter if it's college or playing in ex pros or being junior guys. So
it should be a great selling point. It should be just as important as having a sick gym.
I agree.
It should be a huge part of it that I think these schools need to do a better job of making happen for sure.
I agree because you got knuckleheads like us. We just went there just for hockey. Let's call it what it is.
Yeah.
We went there to make the NHL.
And you're so young too. It's like you don't give a shit about class and all these things. That you don't know what you want to do, and you think that hockey's it. But no, it's such an important aspect to it.
Tom, what do you got?
Yeah, so I just want to touch on network a little bit, and it's actually funny. It's actually a perfect transition into this. So originally, when Lee, I don't know if you remember this, it was like all the way back in the beginning of COVID. Like when it was like April, March 2020, my season was canceled. And I remember distinctly, I was sitting on my couch. I'm going through my phone book on my cell phone. I'm like, what the fuck am I going to do now? Reaching out to a couple people, ex guys that are retired now in the business world. And obviously you and I know Jack Downing. That's the connection here. Drew McKenzie.
It's a hell of a connection to have.
So it was one of those things where I had just played with Jack a couple years earlier in Cincinnati. He was doing the insurance thing in the city and whatnot. And he's like, yeah, you got to reach out to my boy Lee. And then I don't know if you remember this. You actually offered me a job. Do you remember that?
Oh,
yeah. You offered me a job in the city because I was going.
Awful hire.
Yeah. What's that?
To work at the store, right?
Yeah, it was a Westport location. So
that's right. That's right.
I'm like, do I really want to do this? I was like, I just got out of hockey. I don't know what the hell I'm going to do with my life. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk to. So we had some good chats, kept in contact a little bit over the years. But what I wanted to talk about was the transition period between when guys know they have one foot out the door, from hockey consuming us basically our entire lives and going through that, lull that we all went through at some point, because you go from doing something every day, we talk about this on every episode, to trying to find yourself, like what's the next step, like after hockey. And I remember having those conversations, just reaching out to people, networking, asking questions, because I didn't know what to do. And it was kind of and now, a year and a half later, I'm with Bob doing this and, the real estate side of the industry now. And it's one of those things where I just wanted to talk about what would you do? And let's talk about your transition when you knew, or what advice you can give guys for when they start having these thoughts on when it's time to move on.
There's two things. I think that I'm going to contradict myself, but I think that something that's interesting is that, these like playing in the minors and these long bus rides, whatever it was, I just thought like, I'm just not like, I'm kind of like better than this, I guess, just to put it frankly. But I also think that mentality is also like kind of what didn't make me a good enough hockey player. So I think it's like kind of a contradicting thing, right? Where I think that hockey players need to be thinking, or all athletes need to be thinking about life after. But if you're thinking about that and you're not like all in, and maybe if I was like this, listen, like this is it. Like if I don't make it in hockey, I'm not making it. Like maybe I would have been a better hockey player. I don't know if it would have been smart for me after, and I probably wasn't good enough anyways. But I just think that like that mentality you've seen for guys that it works and it kind of gets them to that next level. They grind it out a little bit more. And when you have that, like, this is it mentality, could make you a better hockey player. I just never had that. And I was always very curious about, other things than hockey. I was very fortunate that hockey got me to be able to go to Michigan, a school I probably wouldn't be able to get into without it. But yeah, I think it's interesting. And for me, personally, I was very lucky that I was kind of working on another passion project when it came to decide if I was going to keep playing or not. And also like the decision came easy for me because, I remember we did like a launch party for like our fall collection shirts And I was still thinking about going back and playing. And the coaches in South Carolina were like asking me, "Hey, you coming? You coming? What are you going to do? You going to play? You going to retire?" And I was like, "I don't know yet. Haven't made a decision." And then we had that weekend, and I forget, we must have sold like, $7,000 worth of dress shirts, and we just thought it was the greatest thing ever. And then that Monday I got a call being like, "Hey, we traded you to Missouri. Like, we don't know what you're doing." And I was like, "Okay, like, decision's made."
$7,000 is a co-salary for some guys.
Well, we don't make that. We just,
I'm saying like, oh shit, I just.
Yeah, and it was just like a real, like, oh wow, like, people are coming back and buying the product again, and people are enjoying it. And then that, along with like being dealt, I was just like, okay, like this is it. But the transition's tough. I feel bad for guys that are transitioning and in something that they don't know that they're loving and not waking up every day excited to do. I was very lucky that I was able to, wake up and be really excited about a project I was working on. There was absolutely days though when, like, it wasn't all those great weekends where you didn't sell anything and you're like, "Whew, is this the right move here?" And I think another thing too is, early on when you're starting a company, everyone, people around you, even like your friends, are like, "Who the fuck does this guy think he is?" Yeah. Like, it's like, it's like anybody can go and do this. Like, there's no fucking way. So I think, like, knowing that that's going on, and you just absolutely lose your identity. There's no doubt about it. You go from being the hockey player for 25 years into, something else. And that's always really tough.
So Lee, let me ask you a question, because you said something that is really important. And I went through this when I retired from hockey and jumped into real estate. People are like, "Who the hell does this guy think he is?" Like, it's your identity is gone, and then all of a sudden you have a new identity, and everybody's going to motherfuck you, right? They're going to naysay. It's like, I guarantee, how many people, Lee, is like, "What are you doing jumping in the clothing line? You know nothing about it."
Yeah, you don't have good style. What the fuck? Who the fuck are you?
Yeah. So you're going to so talk a little bit about that, because this is very important, because when we do the transition, Tom, we talked about this before, we beat ourselves up. Let's call it what it is. We are probably our worst critic, but you also have other people. You have family, friends. They think they know what the hell they're talking about when they make shit money, and they're telling you what path you should take, right? Those are the people you should not ever listen to. This is my opinion. I've lived this life like this. You don't listen to people that don't make more money than you do, first of all. But in your opinion, what would you give advice to people on that side of it?
Yeah, I go the opposite direction. I take advice from people that wake up every day pretty excited to do what they're doing. And I think that's just like the most important thing. And if that's going to be a school teacher, that's going to be a hockey coach, whatever is going to get you going in the morning. I think that's a big thing for us. And when I think about our team here, like, that's the most important thing to me. And we send out something every 2 months, scale 1 to 5, can't use 4. How excited are you to come to work every day? And, we have a ton of 5s and we have a 3. We're like, holy shit, we're doing something wrong here. I think the majority of people are 1s and 2s. So I think that just, to me, that's the most important thing. And it doesn't really matter how much money you're making. If you're waking up excited every day to do what you do, that's what I'm looking for. And that's what I feel very fortunate that I get to do that every day. I have no idea what the hell I'm waking up to, but it's going to be exciting, and that alarm goes off, and I'm excited to get out of bed and get it rolling.
Yeah. It's a passion and purpose, right?
Yeah.
But what did you do? So you stay focused on your passion and purpose. How many naysayers did you have to fight off to get to where you are today?
It's funny. I don't think that, like, no one, like, really to your face is like doing this stuff. I think what's going on behind the scenes. And yeah, there's just so many moments, whether you're, just chatting with someone who's like, "Hey, like, why don't you come work for me? Like, this is just like a fun project you're working on. But when it doesn't work out, why don't you give me a call? I'd love for you to come work for me, or come work with us, or whatever it is." So there's a lot of that. And I think that along the path, there's just like a bunch of little milestones that kind of keep you going. And there's so much negativity that surrounds this on a day-to-day basis, especially as you grow and you have employees and everything like that. But even in the early days, so many things go wrong. And you just need these like little milestones to kind of like keep you going. That just say, okay, like we are doing this, things are going well, we can do this. And I think that's just like kind of important to have those little milestones along the way.
Tom, we talk about this all the time about, I think hockey players are destined to be good business owners, my opinion, because exactly what you said, we always did a good job of setting goals, right? Which are your milestones. So you set a little goal, you win, but you don't sit there and bathe and pat yourself on the back. It's always, all right, next, what's next? What's
Absolutely.
next? So sometimes it's a detriment to us because we're like, we blow by a goal and it's like, screw that goal. Our other goal is way over there.
Oh yeah.
So talk a little bit about that.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think we do not do a good job here of patting ourselves on the back, and we kind of tried to let our team know that as well. Like, hey, we're not the best, just like bringing someone in, arm around the shoulder. Hey, you're doing a great job. Really, really proud of the work you're doing. I think that's something that we need to improve on. But no, you always want more. I mean, I think that's kind of how we're built. Not only just as hockey guys, you always want more. And if your sales exceed by 25%, you be nice if it exceeded by 50%. And that's always the way. I think the other thing that's something that like we struggle with too is just like nothing's good enough. I think our products got to get better. Our customer experience has got to get better. Our office has got to get better. We're lucky where we are, but we just have so much to do to get better on all fronts. And I think that's, like I said, it's a good thing and a bad thing, but absolutely never truly satisfied here.
Love it. So let's talk a little bit. So you have 18 stores, you said?
Yeah.
So how did you get from, all right, so what is the hardest part of, is it going from starting that first store or going from one store to do two stores to talk a little bit about that, because opening the first store has got to be scary as shit, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I mean, we talked about it before, but where we're opening up, it's not inexpensive by any means. We are in the highest end areas in the country, in the world, whether it's Soho, New York, or Back Bay, Newbury Street in Boston, M Street in DC. So yeah, it's terrifying. Absolutely. And it's funny. It's the same thing as the product. I look back in our first stores and build outs and stuff like that. And it's just like, holy shit, people actually went in this place and bought things. So it's been quite a journey. I have no idea how we got to 18 stores. It doesn't even seem possible. But it's been such a fun part of the experience. We got hooked on the retail side immediately. I worked the first Boston store. And just knowing, in this day and age where everyone is communicating like we are and communicating over email and text message, to actually introduce somebody to the brand in person, have an interaction with them, see them try on the product. It was just a game changer for us. And we were young when we had the Boston store. So, we were using it as a post bar spot, a pre bar spot. It was definitely a little wild back in the day.
That was was it Newbury Street?
Yeah, it was on Newbury Street. So we were, I was essentially living in Boston at the time, sleeping at the store sometimes and just crazy shit. But we just became hooked on the experience. We thought that we could do it better than anybody else. We thought that we were doing it better than anybody else. We had random customers coming in and staying in the store for 2 hours, just drinking beers, hanging out, chatting. We just thought it was really unique and we became hooked on it. And then once we found that we can do it very profitably, and these stores can not only be, just fun and great way to introduce people to the brand, but they can be really profit centers for us as well as customer acquisition vehicles. We just kind of ran at it and we're still doing that to this day. It's the most challenging thing about the business, managing people from hundreds of miles away, coaching and having to lead a team of 5 to 7 people, and they're running their own $1.5–2 million business. It's been an unbelievable challenge, but also the most exciting and rewarding part of what we do. Just had 18 store managers that came out to Ann Arbor for a store manager retreat. And it was just it was incredible to see just how excited and how bought in and everyone is. And we got a really good group here, which we're really excited about and excited to keep growing that retail footprint. Yeah.
So you're saying you got some great clothes, and it's interesting. You got the athletic fit that fits a hockey body perfectly, right?
That's right.
It's perfect. So
yeah, and it's easy. I mean, you walk by one of our stores, you know exactly what we do. It says athletic fit, performance fabric, dress clothes. And if you're a guy walking on Newbury and that resonates with you, you come in. And it's been fun too, teaching our guys sales. I mean, there's so many tactics that we have. I would say compared to other stores on Newbury, we probably get 50% of the traffic. But, our sales are right up there with some of the greatest stores on there, just because, the clothes are great and we've got great salespeople in there that are pushing product and pushing a great experience.
Well, Tom has your shirt on today, so this is the best Tom has looked all year. So
good.
That's a good thing, Tom. That's a good thing. It's hard to do, but it's a very good.
One of about 20. So thanks, Lee. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
No, hey, just looking through the stores, man. You got you're in California, you're in Toronto, right? You're in Boston, you're in Chicago, you're in DC, Denver, Fort Lauderdale, where else? Houston. Shit, you're everywhere. Manhattan.
Yeah.
Love it, dude.
No, it's
Love it.
funny. I gotta make fun of you real estate guys just because, like, obviously I'm like in the game a little bit from that standpoint, but it's like just like any other industry, finance or whatever it may be, it's like, it's gonna be $150 a foot, $7 triple nets. We've got like it's just like, dude, just fucking tell me what the rent's gonna be a month. Like, don't make me take out my calculator. Like, what am I gonna pay all in every month? And it's like, well, it's gonna be $150 a foot. We've got $10 triple nets, we've got insurance, we've got taxes. It's like, dude, it's just funny how every industry kind of has that language just to complicate shit when it's just completely unnecessary.
Let's actually talk about that. Brick and mortar. You guys are, that's your storefront. That at the end of the day, that is real estate. So what do you, when you're identifying these markets, just like, real estate, we're going to special markets all over the country. We're following the money at the end of the day. So we're seeing where trends are going. I'm assuming you guys are doing the same thing when identifying locations. So let's touch on that.
Yeah, I think it's been crazy. We've been in the retail, brick and mortar retail game for either like 4 or 5 years now, and just to see where it's gone. When we started 5 years ago, it was completely dead. We had the pick of the litter. We can dictate all the terms and everything. Landlords were desperate to get stores like us in there. And then, leading up to COVID, it got very hot and pretty competitive. Obviously, COVID wiped everything out. If I can go back in time, I think we opened up 2 stores during COVID, which was just like hilariously risky on our end. Going back, I wish we had done more, but it's rebounded like crazy. It is more competitive and tight than ever for us to get a space. It's been pretty amazing. So right now it can't be a hotter market. And it's funny. Everyone's like, what's the average income at this space and all these different metrics and stuff. And Steve and I kind of still do the retail location pickouts and decisions. And for us, it's 100% feel. We go to these locations, we see the other tenants that are around. We go into the stores, we talk to them. I pretend I'm a retail consultant and ask them questions about their sales and traffic and all these things. It's 100% feel. And I'm sure it's not the right way. It hasn't bit us in the ass yet. And it's just kind of funny, do we think that we can do $70,000 a month at this store? Sure. Yeah. Okay. Let's do it. And it's, we know what we have to do, obviously, revenue wise to pay the bills. And, there's no scientific method to it for us. It's a lot of feel, and it's our guys like you going to be going there on the weekends. Yeah. And if they are, great, let's fire it up.
And I love that mentality because it's the same thing in real estate. I ran a couple of different real estate education coaching programs, and it's the same thing. You see the most successful people are the ones that take action, right? They actually do it. They don't talk about it and say, hey, I think I'm going to open another store. You guys, the research that you still do research, right? But the research for you guys is feel. Yeah. Same thing in real estate. It's like you have to actually take action, get off your ass, move forward, and actually do it, right? So you guys, it's pretty impressive, going from 1 to 18 stores, especially brick and mortar, right? I mean, what does your online sales look like compared to in store?
It's crazy. I think we're trending like 45% online, 65 in store. I think that we're hoping that online is going to like even it out 50-50 this year. But the in-store experience has been huge for us, and it's been a great way to acquire customers. And then once they have a great experience in store, they want to go back. Our average order value is much higher in store. If someone's on your website and they have a dress shirt, you can't just like tap them on the shoulder and be like, hey, while you have that dress shirt on, why don't you try on this blazer, see how it fits? Yeah. So we're able to sell, a lot more units per transaction at our retail stores. And that goes back to kind of the salesmanship of our people. So yeah, it's just been incredibly successful. And obviously it's a lot easier to scale the online business than it is the brick and mortar business, but it's just been so successful for us, and we're going to keep running after it.
Love it. Love it. Tom, what else you got?
Wanted to circle back a little bit to a comment you made earlier about, you came out with a prototype, you thought it was the greatest thing in the world. 6 months later, you found out it was dog shit because it wasn't what you expected. Let's talk about the the bounce back from the reaction that you got on that, and kind of tie it into, you are a hockey guy. At the end of the day, you know how to grind, you know how to work, you know how to be disciplined and stay on track because you had a goal. I mean, you wouldn't have played at Michigan, you wouldn't have played the USHL, you know, you wouldn't have played pro if you didn't have a goal. So let's talk about why you think, you know, hockey guys, you know, whether it be real estate, any athlete, you know, you have a mindset, or else you wouldn't be performing at the level you're at. So let's go back to that experience with you and kind of talk about why you think, you know, hockey guys are so successful in the business world.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of resiliency that comes with, you know, just being an athlete, and that certainly is a big aspect that you got to take into business. The kind of like the threshold for pain when you're starting a business is pretty unbelievable. And, you know, early on, when you're ordering 500 shirts and 100 come in fucked up, you're like, we're done. Like this is it. And like you're freaking out, and you're not sleeping at night and all these things. And, you know, now it's, you know, we've got thousands of items going out a day. So like we're dealing with, you know, 50 messed up product, you know, on a daily basis. And it's just like, you just kind of develop a thick skin for this type of stuff, and shit goes wrong all the time. You learn that, you know, overreacting and you know, stressing out about stuff when there's really nothing you can do but fix it for the future is such a big part of it. I wish that I had the mentality that I have now when I was playing. I think that, you know, the consistency factor in my hockey game was what kind of held me back. When I was good, I was really good. When I was bad, it would spiral fast. And I kind of wish I had this more mature mentality that I have now when I was playing. But ultimately, I agree with you guys. I think that as far as like sales and management, I think that hockey guys just have such a leg up. You know, and nothing prepares you for managing a team. And it doesn't matter. I was a captain on all the teams growing up. It doesn't matter. Nothing prepares you for this. But I think just overall the personality and the way to connect with people. And, you know, I look back on some of our coaches and really disappointed with kind of like the leadership that they had. But you look back on those coaches and you take the things that you did enjoy about them and the things that you didn't, and you kind of put it into your own management and leadership style. I think that's been really important. But yeah, I think that, you know, hockey guys are just sales and management. I mean, we should be really taking over the business world on those two fronts, I believe.
I agree. 1,000%.
Got one more point, Bob, and then I'll let you take it away for the rest. So I want to talk about the PHPA, the network. You know, this is something that you were a part of. I was a part of. I was on the executive board, went to all the meetings, on the committee, all that bullshit. You know, in the beginning of the year, you know, we have those, you know, those meetings for benefits, 401k, you know, all basically letting players know, you know, the reps go around from city to city. In the American League, the coast, they let you know where your dues are going out of your paycheck every month, every 2 weeks, essentially. So I remember you utilized that platform back in the day, whether it be 3 or 4 years ago, and you were incentivizing guys who were still playing to essentially be reps for you, you know, pushing product during the season if they want to make, you know, a little bit extra cash while they were still playing. And, you know, eventually, you know, talking with Daryl and you know, the guys there at the committee, you essentially partnered up with them. And that essentially is something that we're trying to do, is tap into that network and utilize what we're doing, you know, in the real estate space. And like we talk about it, you know, on most episodes is, you know, you throw a dart at a map, there's a guy, you know, in a city that is doing something real estate related, you know, whether it be someone who knows someone who's an agent, who referral business, whatever it is. So what advice would you give us on how to utilize that platform and what we could do to maybe, you know, help get to where you were at with that partnership?
Yeah, I think if I could go back, maybe I would have potentially went on the road with them and did those meetings with them and just said, hey, can I get 5 minutes of the meeting time when you guys are chatting with the teams to like really get in front of them? I think ultimately it's such a great partnership for us, and it opened up, you know, just so many doors, and we have employees that are working with us now through the PHPA. You know, we had those like kind of sales reps that helped grow the business early on. You know, we had the 15% off code for all the members to use, which I think was great for us growing up. We still have, or when we were getting it going. I think ultimately, I just think that the PHPA members need to do a better job of taking advantage of what the PHPA is doing. I feel like when you're a player, all you want to do is shit all over how you had to pay $500 out of pocket because the PHPA didn't cover a medical bill or whatever it was. So there's like a negative connotation towards it, but ultimately, it should become a great network of guys that are looking to help each other out. And instead of, being the sickest Fortnite player as a 25-year-old, and being caught up on every fucking Netflix show, like, you should branch out and reach out to people and try to, connect with people in the PHPA that are, either in business or still playing. So I think that, if I can go back, I think getting in front of people actually would be huge. But ultimately, I think there should just be a better push to get the current members and players to really start activating, what the PHPA has to offer and the network that is a part of it.
Yeah,
and I agree on that one because when I was part of it back in the day, I thought the same thing. I'm like, I'm a young idiot kid just thinking like, you guys don't know what the hell you're talking about. You guys are washed up players. Like, this is the mentality that you see. This is the mentality that we had coming from college. Like, what the hell are you guys doing today? And now, you change your lens and it's a lot different. It's like, shit, these guys are actually trying to help you. Right.
Oh yeah. And they're great guys too.
Awesome.
Like, just phenomenal guys. Have gone above and beyond for us. And we certainly credit our early growth to that organization. Absolutely.
Yep.
Sure. So, and I talk to Bob all the time about trying to get down there to Florida to the meetings, even if it's for a weekend or a day, just to, have maybe half an hour to get on stage and talk to these guys and kind of be one of those resources. I mean, think about it. You got financial advisors, you got you guys, you got, the fireman academy, you got the police, you have all those reps down there in Florida at those meetings. And it's like, we got to figure out a way how to get in front of these guys. And when they're all in one place, and at the end of the day, it's an hour meeting in the morning and everyone's getting shit faced at the pool all day. So it's one of those things where it's more of a vacation, but at the same time, and we talk about it all the time, one person comes up to you and talks to you about, hey, what are you guys doing? What, you guys are in the investment space. I want to be a landlord. I've thought about flipping houses. So if that could, in my opinion, snowball, and that's basically what we're trying to build here with this podcast and basically networking and building this coaching platform moving forward.
For sure.
Yeah. And you know what? It's, I think it's a mastermind, really, Tom. You guys just talked about it. The PHPA is really a mastermind. So I'm part of different masterminds. I don't know, Lee, in your business, if you have a business mastermind that you go to with different industries, or it's maybe just a clothing line industry where you talk to other, industry leaders. I think that's a good point there, Tom. It's, recommend everybody go to those and just ask questions, right? I know people say, I hate when people, make the comment of, hey, let me pick your brain. But guess what? It's a great opportunity to, for all there, Lee, I would like to pick your brain on just how your business works, because it's pretty cool on seeing the expansion of it. I'm not in your business, but I'd love to, hear more of your story to understand how you could take what you guys did to this industry. Because, we have the real estate industry. I also have a virtual assistant staffing company as well out of the Philippines. So there's a lot of stuff that we could probably bounce off each other and just shoot the shit over maybe 5 or 10 or 15 beers over, one night.
Yeah. I'm not drinking that much anymore, but no, you're absolutely right. And I think, at the end of the day, it's still business, it's still managing people, still trying to figure out a way to make things profitable and make money. So, whatever the industry is, it still certainly overlaps.
So if someone wants to get a hold of you, give out your info, because obviously there's, you guys have 18 very successful stores. You're a successful, obviously, entrepreneur. So how would people get a hold of you if they're interested to get a hold of you?
Yeah, I think Tom knows I'm absolutely horrible on text message. So it's definitely email for me, which it's just Lee, Lee at stateandliberty.com, and spelled out. So yeah. And like I said, it's been a wild year for us here. And even, I would say, just coming out of COVID, it's been pretty crazy. But, certainly happy. I wish that people did reach out more and just looking to shoot the shit and chat. Because certainly open to do it, and people did it for me, and you certainly feel the need to make it happen and make the time for other people, for sure.
Yeah, and check out obviously State and Liberty. So stateandliberty.com. I'm on the site right now. Your clothes look phenomenal. So
thank you.
Yep, phenomenal. I know Tom obviously is a perfect perfect role model for your clothing line. So he's the best he's looked all year today.
Good.
So, let you know.
Anyway, thank Lee. We appreciate the time. You know, this has been great. You know, anything we could do to help you if you know you need help with targeting properties in certain states all over the country. You know, at the end of the day, it's what we do. So if we could help, or if you need a reference with anybody in a special market, we'll help you out as best we can.
No, I appreciate it. And same goes for you. Anything I can do to help and support you guys, please let me know.
Yeah,
Awesome.
anything. Hey, Tom, 2 seconds. So Tangradi, we had Eric, we had last week. I put him in touch with my buddy Ryan. So now they're connecting. So the point is, so to what you're saying, Tom, Lee, if there's anything that we could help, any cities that you're looking to get into that we know people in, just let us know that we'll be able to help you. We literally just we had Eric Tangradi on yesterday, and I have a buddy, he's in Pittsburgh, and I have a buddy that does really well in the real estate industry. Just put them together in text message. So now hopefully they could do something together.
Yeah,
So
that's what it's all about.
That's the whole point.
Awesome, Lee. Thank you again. Tom, thank you very much. Really
Guys,
appreciate
thank you.
it. Thank you.
Have a good one, guys. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks.